Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. We will be starting very soon. Here we go. We're getting our panelists on. Feel free to come on camera, ladies.
Mine is saying you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. Does that make sense?
Okay, no problem. Just give me 1 second.
It's Nancy, by the way.
Hi, Nancy. You should all be able to start your videos now.
There we go.
Here we go. Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
We're missing one.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Okay, great. So far, so good. So we are expecting quite a handful of people, and some people are already on. So we can say hi.
Hi.
Can
Hi,
everyone hear me
everyone.
okay?
Ready?
I got set up today.
Nice.
Participant has a name on the head. Cool. I didn't know that you could do closed captioning. Apparently you can. Here we go. Here is our last panelist. Dr. Vaidya is joining. Awesome. Here we go. Hello. Amazing. Okay. Let's give everyone a few minutes to join, because most likely they will need a couple of minutes to find the email that you have to click on to get the link to come onto this webinar.
To rescan Zoom, to make it reload. Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure your speakers are set.
Hopefully grab a notebook.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely. Yes, I would advise everyone. I have mine because I'm looking forward to all the panelists talk.
Amazing. Amazing. So do I.
You're ready.
I actually heard a clip of Sneha's presentation already, and I was just like, to hear the whole thing. I'm going to be taking tons of notes, so I'm very excited. Everyone, thank you for joining. We're going to give it like 2 more minutes and then we'll get started, because it's a pretty tight session, but it's going to be super fun. We're going to make it fun, right?
Yes.
Feel free to go off mute, ladies. We can just chat for a few minutes.
All these
You can
ladies,
get to know us.
it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be so much fun. I have a question for the ladies and for you,
Yeah,
Coach.
go for it.
What is your theme song for today? If you had to pick a theme song.
Oh, Melissa, you were gonna.
I'm a woman.
Amazing.
That was like
Have
all
fun.
over Instagram yesterday, and I was singing it all day long.
Mine is that song. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna look it up because I don't know the exact name of it. I can sing you the lyrics.
Yeah. I'm curious about everybody's.
Mine is I'm Every Woman. I love that one.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love
that's a
that
good
too.
one.
Okay, mine is, and it's on repeat. Oh gosh, what is the name of this song? Oh, Fight Song.
No.
I would have totally
Yeah.
gotten that wrong.
I
That
love
was
that.
not what I was going to call it.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. How about Rise Up? Is it Audra Day? Is that her name?
Yeah,
That's a good one. Yeah.
she's got a good voice.
Yeah, she does. That's a good
Mine's too. My goal is for us, by the time the webinar is over, is that everybody's, because I'm happy, clap along. That's like what I want everybody to feel. But I love Overcomer by Mandiza. It's a really cool music video if you haven't seen it. It's just talks about it's just, I'm an overcomer, stay in the fight till the final round. It's really good. It's a really good motivator. So I play that a lot in the morning.
Oh, Wow.
The video is really cool because it shows stories of overcomers in it, like Robin Roberts. Shows her cancer journey, and it shows it's a really neat video
Oh,
along
that's
with the
so
song.
cool. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't even know. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started, if that's okay with everyone. Yeah, okay, great. All right, so welcome everyone to our first Mind Quotient panel called Empowerment Through Connection. And I am very honored to be the host tonight. I am so excited to hear the talks, and I am very honored that these ladies who are here, these 6 ladies, are actually graciously offering their time and their wisdom and their knowledge to empower other women. So this is a charity event. We're not getting paid, and we're not doing any other, we didn't get sponsored or anything like that. But we didn't charge you, but what we're asking you to do is make a donation. And, it doesn't even matter what cause, earthquake relief, empowerment for women, especially what's going on in Iran, anything really, just in honor of like when you learn from other people, just giving back, because we're giving back by doing this. So we would really appreciate if anybody who's attending can give back on your own. This is not mandatory, but that's the intention. The intention is service. So that's what we're hoping. So yes, okay. So the format for tonight, before we get into it, is that every one of these speakers is going to be speaking for about 10 minutes, up to 10 minutes. And then I will hop on. And so we will be spotlighting whoever is speaking, and then I will hop on. And at that time, what we'll do is we will have a little Q&A, like a few minutes, because we do want everybody to get the opportunity to ask questions. And then after that, we're going to just go to the next panelist. I will probably go on video during the Q&A because I'm going to be asking the questions. Anybody who's attending, please put your questions in the chat, and feel free to ask questions. I'm sure I will have questions as well. And panelists, please feel free to ask questions as well. Just put it in the chat, and I will be hopping on for like 2 to 3 minutes at the end of your session. And if no one has questions, I will come up with them because it'll be fun. That's the other thing. So this is going to be fun. We have some giveaways. So some of the speakers are going to be doing some giveaways within their sessions. And at the end, anybody who is on, Corinne, Corinne, my assistant, if you can take a screenshot of everybody who's on at the end, we're going to be raffling like a gift card giveaway. And so, yeah, how does that sound? Everybody good with the format? Yeah. Okay, great. All right. So I'm going to spotlight. Okay. So I actually originally did not plan on speaking because I was hosting. However, I changed my mind when I heard the theme of International Women's Day, which is embracing equity. And I want to talk for a few minutes about it. 1, because I have a captive audience, and 2, because it's an interesting theme and very relevant. And I have a little bit of a different take on equity, especially compared to everything that I saw on social media yesterday. So I think the most important thing to think about equity, and it is a new word in this space, gender equity, and really equity for anything, is its fairness. And fairness means what? Fairness means that you're getting the equal opportunities, treatment, etc., from everyone around you. But the one thing about equity is that equity also starts on the inside by believing you deserve it. And when you believe you deserve it, you inherently already have equity. And so by attending this session, so for all the attendees that are on and keep joining, I want to actually acknowledge the fact that you are taking time out of your very busy day. You have a busy day, and as a woman, or even as a parent, or, we have some supporters on, which is amazing. So you are taking out of time away from your responsibilities, and we wear many hats. And the reason you're doing this is so that you can learn and grow. And that's something really to be acknowledged, because when you make a choice to invest yourself, invest in yourself. So you're taking time away from something else, some other obligation, responsibility, maybe putting the kids to dinner, maybe cooking dinner, maybe the phone call you're supposed to have, maybe even working. I know for sure that my mom is working and listening to this. Just the fact that you are choosing to empower yourself through knowledge makes you believe that you deserve it. And that is actually where equity starts. It starts on the inside. And as much as we really want to be recognized, and hopefully every day, because earlier today I was asking someone, last time I checked, is there a Men's Day? I must have missed that memo, because the fact that we even have to have a day shows inequity. So given that, what I would like to say is thank you so much for attending. You are showing up and embracing equity just by being here. And we are going to take you on this journey of learning and developing and growing. And with that, I am very excited to introduce our first speaker of the evening, Nancy Sawyer. So here we go.
Hello.
Let me,
Let me see here.
Nancy, give me just 1 second so I can spotlight you. Here we go. Pin. There we go. Ah, there we go. All right, Nancy. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick intro, if that's okay. So Nancy is a Jay Shetty certified life coach who helps women to master midlife. And I'm very excited you're kicking off our panel. She does this through coaching, workshops, courses, and speaking. Her Permission to Pause workshops create an inviting space for a mental reset through mindfulness and gentle yoga practices paired with journaling, reflection, and discussion. This is very powerful stuff. Nancy's online course, Intentional Living, teaches the basics of creating a life you love, waking up to. Nancy's weekly discussion group, the Compass Club, meets online. The Compass Club is awesome. I have actually guest spoken on it. And there they have a space that they are other women supporting other women, similar to this panel. It's amazing stuff that she's doing. Her signature program, Reclaiming You, helps women to rediscover themselves and create the next chapter after experiencing challenging life events. Nancy also offers individual coaching to clients who are seeking personal growth and change at a deeper, even more personalized level. And Nancy lives on Cape Cod, which I just learned recently, and made me like very jealous for a few minutes. So welcome, Nancy.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Nami. I am so honored to start off this conference, and I invite you all to step in with me. Let's take a collective pause and honor all of the women who are with us today. And let's take a deep breath together as we settle into this beautiful shared space. Breathing in, I want to breathe in the love and the positive intention that's here today. And breathing out, I want to breathe out all the stress that we have and any thoughts of where we should be or what we should be doing instead of being here. We all need to be here to be present for each other and for women everywhere. So let's take that deep breath. Let's breathe in for 3 or 4 seconds and breathe out for 5 or 6 seconds. Breathe it all out, all that stress, ladies. So the theme of this webinar for International Women's Day is empowerment through connection. And I want to start off this conference by speaking about the most important connection of all, which is the one with ourselves. The longest relationship we're ever going to have is the one with ourselves. So I encourage you to nurture that relationship and to put love into that relationship. We women are incredible humans. We're helpers, we're givers, we're nurturers. We're healers. Many of us also, we become people pleasers and we put ourselves last. We abandon our dreams in favor of helping other people to achieve their dreams. We care for others very powerfully and with such love and devotion that sometimes we leave nothing left for ourselves. So I want to talk to you today about self-care. I want you to know that self-care is not selfish. Taking care of you and giving yourself what you need to thrive is not selfish. It's actually very necessary. Here's why. If you don't take care of yourself, and then you cannot show up for anyone else as the great version of you. I want you to think about for a minute all the roles you have in life. Nami just mentioned some of them earlier. All the places you show up for others. There are many. I know. You can actually put them in the chat if you want. What kind of roles do you have? Are you a mother, maybe a wife, a partner, a business owner? Are you a dog mom, a cat mom, a volunteer? You can put it in the chat if there are other ones I'm not mentioning. What other roles do you have? I want you to think about all those roles. And then I want you to think about how you show up to all those roles. And I want you to think about how you want to show up. Do you want to show up overwhelmed, exhausted, stressed, impatient, rushing from one thing to the next? What are you giving these roles if you are showing up less than 100%? Who actually suffers if you show up as less than your best self? Is it your children, your work, your coworkers, your loved ones, your dog? Who? So do you see that taking care of yourself is a gift not only to yourself, but also to everyone around you, to all the people that you help in your world every day? Taking care of yourself is not a luxury, it's a necessity. The ripple effect is huge. I want you to declare right now that you are a self-care superstar. That's what I call myself. So let's all declare it. I'm a self-care superstar. You can put it in the chat if you want. Declare that proudly and strongly, without guilt. This is a gift not only to yourself, but to everyone else too. All right, I'm going to share my screen here. I have a couple of slides for you. Let me just see here if I can figure this out. Thank you for bearing with me. And I'm going to move this over. Here it is.
Nancy, while you're talking, everyone, our chat had been disabled, so it's enabled now. So please feel free.
Yay.
Nancy, nobody was ignoring you. They were just trying to chat and couldn't.
That's okay. No worries. All right. So let's just see here if this is the right screen. Can you see this? Does it say Midlife Mastery International Women's Day on your side?
Yep, it does.
Excellent. All right. So
If you want to go into slideshow mode, then we'll be able to see.
you.
There we go.
Okay. So calling all self-care superstars. Okay. We're going to talk about self-care here. Self-care is not paying too much money to get your hair done, to buy fancy brands, to buy things you don't need, to live beyond your financial means. There's a lot of messaging out there that says we have to keep up with the Joneses and we have to do all these things. Getting your nails done, getting a massage is great, and that can be self-care, but it's not if it's breaking your budget. So I'm asking you to take a step back and just pay attention. Is this self-care? Is this not? So self-care is not going out with the girls and gossiping and being around negative energy and then drinking too much wine so you're hungover the next day. Self-care is not saying yes to more volunteering, working overtime, to doing more if you're already feeling overwhelmed, okay? Self-care is not shoulding yourself, telling yourself, I should do this, I should do that, and feeling guilty, okay? So self-care is having strong boundaries, okay? It's connecting to yourself and saying no when you need me time. Self-care is taking a pause and checking in with yourself regularly, asking yourself, what's going on for me? What's coming up? What do I need right now? Self-care is creating the time to do all the things that you say you value and love. And it is also honoring what you need to thrive and putting yourself first instead of last. So here's why I need you to be a self-care superstar. I am just going to change this out for 1 second here. I need you to be a self-care superstar because you're beautiful. You are full of light and love, and you are unique, and you have the gifts that this world needs. Our world needs women like you and me and everyone who's here today to step into our power and do what we can. We have the power to affect change in our part of the world, in our household, in our workplace, in our community. We have the power. And in order for us to be able to harness that power, we need to be on our game. So I need you to be a self-care superstar, because if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of anyone else. So I want to leave you with 3 questions. Number 1, what am I doing that feeds my soul? Number 2, what am I doing too much of that is draining me? And how can I begin to do less of that? And number 3, how can I show love to myself today and every day, starting right now? I invite you to think about that. I invite you to take those questions with you away from tonight. Hold those close to you and think about them. Because after we take care of ourselves, then we can begin to change the world. So I would love to connect with any and all of you. I am on Instagram at Mama of Reinvention. You can scan that QR code and give me a follow. If you want to get on the email list, you can go to nancybsawyer.com or scan that QR code. Also, I am offering to anyone who wants to tonight, connect with me. Let's connect. If you want to have a coaching session, I'm glad to do that for you. If you want to have a meeting to network, to let me know how I can support you in whatever it is you're doing, how can we connect? Can we collaborate? Whatever it is, I am here for you, just as I know we're all here for each other. So I am going to stop this share and I am going to turn it back over to Nami. And if there are any questions, I'm glad to answer them. Glad to have any type of discussion you want. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nancy. All right, please drop your questions in the chat. And while people are coming up with their questions, I have a question, which is how, okay, hold on just one second. I want to make sure that we're both spotlighted. Here we go. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so, okay, Nancy, I have a question. What do you do when you don't feel like taking care of yourself? Or what do you do when it's like very challenging to take care of yourself? Like, how do you
know what I do?
What do you like draw on? Like, how do you manage that?
Yeah. Well, number 1, I have little inspirational messages all over the place. I have little sticky notes everywhere to remind me. Just like we did at the beginning of when I started, I am such a proponent of just taking a deep breath and breathing out the stress. And then I say, what do I need in this moment? And then I give myself that without guilt. If I need to go sit down and lie down and close my eyes for 10 minutes, I do it, even if it's in the middle of the day. If I need to get outside for a walk and a new perspective, some fresh air, I do that. Because powering through, it doesn't really help you, right? Sometimes we get in that space, you're in the computer, like, I just got to finish this, but you're not focused. Your mind's all over the place. So when you can recognize, hey, I need to step outside and take a 10-minute walk, you can come back and refocus. Taking those small pauses throughout the day can have a very big effect on your productivity and on your happiness.
That's amazing. And I'm just going to mention some of the comments in here. People are very empowered by your talk, talking about we have the power, so I'm a self-care superstar. This is so awesome. Sometimes I feel like sometimes taking care of myself is having that glass of wine. Yeah. Sometimes, it's fine. Awareness about what you need. Okay. So any suggestions for caregivers of a chronically ill family?
Ooh, yes. Make sure that you take time for you. Do lean on your tribe. Like that's when you're going through that. I lost my mom to ovarian cancer, and the last couple months were very difficult. I was very fortunate. I have 2 sisters. So between the 3 of us, we sort of took turns caring for her. But you need to get that time for you, even if it's having a friend come over for 10 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever you can do to get that time. And also cherish the time you have with that family member, because they will not be there forever. And so cherish that time and know that this is not a permanent state. So take care of you and do whatever you need in that moment.
Yeah, it's like filling your cup, making sure that you fill your cup so that you can give to others. Yeah, thank you for
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
One more question. So somebody in the chat said, I start self-caring, but then I leave it in the middle when I have to take care of someone else. Oh, that sounds, I can definitely relate to that. How can we stop that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends. If it's kids, you can ask them, this is boundaries, right? So if the kids are banging at your door or mommy, 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 it might be saying, sweetheart, I need a few minutes and then I'll be out to help you. Right. So it's sometimes saying no is really, really hard the first time. But once you do it, what you're doing is you're teaching people how to treat you. So if you allow them to interrupt you and allow them to take all your time and take all your space, you're teaching them how to treat you. So when we love and honor ourselves and respect ourselves, then others will get the message of what's acceptable and what isn't. So sometimes that's really hard to start, but once you say, look, I can't help you right now. I can't help you tonight. I'm speaking at a webinar, but hey, tomorrow night, would you like to connect? Right? You say no, and then you offer a different option, right? That sometimes feels a little more comfortable.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nancy. I think teaching boundaries is amazing and it is really hard, but absolutely, you're modeling too. If it's the kids, you're modeling. Well, for whoever it is, right? We started this webinar talking about equity, meaning that you deserve it too. You deserve it. It's an intro. So if you're sacrificing for someone else, it's already setting the tone. Nancy, thank you so much. It was an amazing, inspirational kickoff to our panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nami.
Okay. All right. Well, I am very excited to talk about the next speaker tonight. She is very near and dear to me. So it is Dr. Toral Vaidya. So Dr. Vaidya is a dermatology resident physician at Weill Cornell in New York City. And I'm going to get her on the screen while I'm talking. We should look at her. Here we go. There we go. I'm going to start your video. There we go. And you can unmute if you can. Okay, great. All right. So Dr. Vaidya is a dermatology resident physician at Weill Cornell in New York City. She has been involved with medical writing for the last 10 years and has authored over 15 scientific publications in prominent dermatology journals, including the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology, and has presented her work at national and international meetings. So she is an expert in this, guys. She has a background in fashion design, and her interests include skin of color dermatology, cosmetic dermatology, and skincare education. She also has a very large social media presence. In fact, and I'm gonna talk about, brag about you for a couple of minutes. Her second TikTok video had 1.3 million views. She writes for Birdie, which is a publication that works to demystify and destigmatize any beauty and or style questions through certified experts. Welcome, Toral. We're very excited to hear your talk today.
Thank you so much, Amita, for having me. And thank you so much, Nancy, for your talk. I'm just about to share my screen. All right. Is it looking okay?
Yes, it looks great. Thank you.
Great. All right. So I'm Dr. Toral Vaidya. Thank you so much, Amita, for the introduction. I am so excited to be talking about being intentional when taking care of your skin. And when Amita approached me about this panel and she wanted to include me, I first thought about, am I too scientific? Is it too much medicine? And then I thought, you know what? Of all fields, I think dermatology has so much of a mental health component that is often not talked about enough. And so really my goal today is talking about how to be intentional when taking care of your skin and really understanding that it's not only the science of skincare, but also there's a huge, huge mental health component that really contributes to why you may or may not be taking care of your skin health. And so, I've had the pleasure of taking care of patients for years now. And a question I often ask my patients is, what really prevents you from taking care of your skin? And the two probably most common answers that I get are, number one, life is just too stressful. I'm overwhelmed. I don't have time to do that. And the second question the second answer I get rather is, I don't know how to take care of my skin. And so I think, really tackling these two things in 8 to 10 minutes is a little bit difficult, but I do want to talk about the ways in which we should understand how stress really impacts our skin on a physiological level, and also how our mental health really plays such a big role in our skin health. And so, I think when we talk about stress, most times I think it has a negative connotation that we're stressed out. But I think it's really important to understand that there's really two main types of stress, right? There's an acute form of stress, which is that maybe that little bit of an adrenaline rush. And sometimes it might even be a good thing, as long as it's short, it's, it's limited and it goes away. So sometimes all stress isn't a bad thing, but really it's that chronic stress that really takes a toll on us. And really, it takes a toll on our overall well-being, but also our skin health as well. So really, chronic stress is really what has both a mental and a physiological component that really contributes to not optimizing our well-being on pretty much every level. And so when you're taking care of your skin, and if you want to prioritize it, I think there's really one main thing you have to understand, and it's what your skin barrier is. And I think that if you're someone who maybe if you follow any social media accounts that are regarding skincare, maybe you follow mine, or even when you go to the drugstore and you're looking at branding, a lot of companies talk about the skin barrier. And it's because it's probably one of the most important aspects of our skin. It is the outermost layer of our skin, and it's really our main protective sort of armor for our skin. It really keeps the good stuff in, like nutrients, hydration, and it keeps the bad stuff out, like environmental toxins, other stressors on our skin. So really understanding what the skin barrier is and how to protect it and maintain it are really important for just like the basics of having a good skincare routine and really prioritizing your skin health. And so our skin barrier is made up of three main components. There are healthy oils. So I like to think about the oils as sort of like a protective film that sort of, again, keeps the good stuff in and the bad stuff out. Of course, it's made of water. Water is essential for our body, but also our skin. It keeps it plump, it keeps it hydrated, it gives it structure. And the microbiome. So I think, a lot of us have probably thought about the microbiome in its relation to gut health. And there's actually a lot of research that's done about how much the microbiome really impacts our skin health, because there's this balance of organisms on our skin that really keeps our skin in check. And when really this is disrupted, then it can really wreak havoc on our skin wellness and our skin barrier. And so cortisol, the primary stress hormone that's released when we are undergoing this chronic stress, really depletes each one of these. And so I think that's a really important thing to understand, that there are physiologic changes in our skin when cortisol is released in states of chronic stress. For example, when cortisol is released, our balance of oils in our skin is shifting more towards sebum production. And sebum is actually what clogs our pores, leads us to get acne. And so if you've thought about when you're stressed out and your skin might feel oily, or you're breaking out in acne, it's because there's a physiologic change that the cortisol is having on the oils in your skin. Again, water. In times of stress, on a physiological level, cortisol is causing our skin to be dehydrated because it can impact the molecules that really bind and hold on to water in our skin. And then, of course, this microbiome, which is so important, is disrupted because cortisol actually has a direct impact on sort of the pH balance of our skin. And so really, cortisol basically knocks out every important component of our skin barrier. So our skin on stress really has greater needs. So again, dialing it back to the question, what prevents you from taking care of your skin? Probably the number one answer I get is I'm too stressed out, I don't have time for it. But really what we need to understand here is that our skin on stress actually needs more care. And so when we're neglecting ourselves, especially in a time of stress, it actually has a greater impact down the line because there are physiologic changes we need to address. And so let's talk about the second component of what prevents you from taking care of your skin. Maybe you don't know how to take care of your skin, and that's completely okay. I think that in the age of social media, at least I've seen firsthand that there's sometimes an emphasis on a very complicated, expensive 12-step skincare routine. And I personally don't have the time for that. And I think most people don't either. And this is very overwhelming. The truth of a really good skincare routine is actually having a simple skincare routine and using powerful ingredients that really protect that skin barrier. It all really dials back at the skin barrier. And so how to take care of your skin barrier. So prevent triggers that disrupt the balance. I mean, we know that cortisol disrupts this balance. And I think my colleagues here on the panel tonight will really help you, empower you, prevent this cortisol trigger that disrupts the balance in your skin. So I'm going to leave that to them. But what I'm going to focus on next is how to protect and restore your skin barrier. So more so the science of skincare here. So let's talk about protecting your skin barrier. So if you've gone to a dermatologist or you talk to a dermatologist, you probably have heard that sunscreen is probably the holy grail for anti-aging. And that's because sun really wreaks the most havoc on our skin. It contributes to aging, it contributes to skin cancer, it leads to free radical damage in our skin. So the sun is probably one of the greatest sources of environmental damage. So picking a sunscreen that is SPF 30 or above, and is specifically labeled as broad spectrum. That just means that it covers both UVA and UVB radiation. So really sunscreen is probably one of the top things you should incorporate into your skincare routine on a very basic level. Vitamin C, vitamin E, these are usually in the form of a serum. Sometimes they're incorporated into a cream, but these have antioxidant properties. So they really fight that free radical damage that happens when our skin is exposed to stressors or the sun. Peptides, often you'll see peptides in skincare. These are also ingredients that have antioxidant properties. And niacinamide also is in many skincare ingredients, sometimes as a serum on its own, but this also has protective properties for our skin barrier. And so really focusing on protecting your skin barrier and using, even combination products that contain one or many of these ingredients can really help you prioritize your skin health. And then finally, focusing on restoring the skin barrier. So you want to protect it, but you also want to maintain it. You want to restore it. And so a lot of that has to do with really replenishing those healthy fats in the skin. And so ingredients like ceramides, squalene, and glycerin are usually in moisturizers. So you don't really have to seek these ingredients out as a separate product, for example. But usually most skincare products that you might see in the drugstore, for example, contain one or more of these ingredients. And these are really there to restore that skin barrier, really restore that healthy fat in the skin that performs that protective layer. And then hyaluronic acid, which you may have heard about, is really that molecule in our skin that binds onto water, keeps our skin plump, keeps our skin hydrated. So this also helps restore our skin barrier. And again, many of these ingredients are already in most drugstore skincare products, so you don't really need to invest a lot either. It's really just finding the products with the right ingredients and being intentional with the products that you choose. So, I wanted to highlight here that our skin is really a barometer for what is going on inside of our body. When we're stressed out, the skin is probably one of the first places that you might see that you're stressed out, even if you don't feel it inside, you might see it on your skin. Taking care of your skin with intention is most important in the time of stress, because as I reviewed here, when our skin is on stress, we actually have greater needs. And ingredients that protect and restore the skin barrier are really the keys to keeping your skin healthy and prioritizing your skin health. And so I really appreciate your guys' time here. And thank you so much for having me on this panel. I would love to connect with you guys either through email or through my social media handles. Thank you again for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, there's some questions already. So one is that someone said, oh my gosh, I had no idea that cortisol impacts my skin. That information is not so out there for people.
Yeah, I think that, we kind of assume that, it's more of like the chicken or the egg question, right? It's like, is it Are we stressed out and then we're not taking care of our skin? And that's why our skin maybe is not as ideal or as refreshed when we're stressed, or is it the stress itself causes physiological changes in our skin? And I think it really probably goes both ways, right? It's also a cycle, right? So if we're stressed out, we might not be taking the time to take care of our skin. And it really is a cycle that will just lead to not optimizing our skin, and then kind of, just one thing leads to another. So I think really prioritizing our skin health, especially in the times of stress, is so important because of the cortisol impact.
That's my biggest takeaway. And I might be a big culprit of this. So I'm sure we'll talk about that
I think we all are. I think we all are.
Okay, so a couple other questions. Is there any difference between male skin and female skin?
That's a great question. The way I approach skincare, no. I personally use three ingredients in the morning, 3 ingredients at night. If I could get my husband to do it, I think that would be the most ideal. But I think that I don't think that there's a particular reason why males can or can't do something. Of course, with facial hair, for beards, I think that you have a different consideration for creams. Maybe they get stuck in your beard, so you want a lighter product. So there might be things more so on like the textures of certain products that might impact how it looks for a male or how it feels for a male. But like the basics of what you want to focus on, really, when it comes down to taking care of your skin barrier, I think that really transcend no matter what gender you are. So
that's very good perspective. Thank you for sharing that. And more questions are coming in. So where could someone find information about when they have super sensitive skin?
Yeah, so I think the National Eczema Association, I think, is a really great resource because they go through a lot of basics of just eczema skincare, which really is applicable to all sensitive skincare types. But they also, one thing I would do, which is really easy, is that whenever you go to the drugstore, I go to the drugstore to buy most of my skincare products, but there's a seal that is by the National Eczema Association that says like seal of approval by National Eczema Association. It's like a blue and white seal. A lot of over-the-counter products like CeraVe, Cetaphil, Aveeno, they'll have that label on them. And so if it's overwhelming to like look at ingredients and figure out what you need, really, if you have a product with that seal on it, there's a very good chance that it's going to be safe for your skin type. So I would start there. Also, just little things that you can think about are, is this product fragrance free? That's really important because fragrance really irritates sensitive skin. I think, fragrance is probably one of the most common culprits for why someone gets irritated, but on a whole, I think the easiest way to look at it is just what are products that are already approved by a national association that really focuses on taking care of sensitive skin.
Okay, great. So you're getting more questions. If you can stop sharing your screen, we're going to make you big
Sure.
for everyone. And then there we go. Awesome. Okay. And what we're going to do is I have a couple more questions, and I know this is an interesting topic for everyone. So we'll try to get a couple more in, and then we can maybe grab some at the end. So one of them is about treating old acne scars. So what is the recommendation for that? Because the question is, do chemical glycolic peels, microdermabrasion, like what actually works?
Yeah, so I think, when people think about acne scarring, there's really 2 main types. So there's one type that sort of that dark mark that acne leaves behind, and that can be improved with just like over-the-counter serums or creams. It takes a very long time, but it can improve to a certain degree. And then there's a form of acne scarring that is like true scarring, where you almost have like a divot. We call it ice pick scarring in dermatology. And this is something that no serum, no matter how much you spend on it, is going to fix. This will require essentially a medical grade procedure that is again boosting that collagen back in those empty spaces to even out the skin texture. So I think it really comes down to what kind of scarring do you have? Is it really true scarring, or is it more so the dark spots? And then also, putting out the fire in the first place. I think a lot of people come to me saying they want to treat their acne scars while they have active acne. And so really, until you really put out that fire in the first place, you're not going to be able to address your skin on a meaningful long-term level. In terms of, what works, again, I think, chemical glycolic peels, you really have to do them in the right hands, especially if you have a darker skin tone, because there are side effects that people don't think about, even if it's a cosmetic procedure. I believe every cosmetic procedure is still a medical procedure, and there are risks and benefits to each one of them. So it's really hard for me to generalize on a forum like this, like what may or may not work for you. But I think the best thing to think about is, first, what kind of acne scarring do you have? And then 2, are you going to a provider who knows how to treat your skin type and tone? I think those are probably the things that you want to focus on, and then take the treatments from there, whether it means an over-the-counter product or doing an office grade, an office medical grade procedure to really have long-term benefit.
Okay, great. There's more questions, but I know that you did put up your email and ways to follow you, and maybe there potentially they could reach out if they wanted to see you, because you are a provider. And yeah, because we're getting a lot more questions, and I know that this is very interesting. And if you follow Toral, she has a ton of information also in her videos and reels and TikToks that she posts. So thank you so much, Toral. We're going to move on to the next speaker. This was, I think everyone learned a lot, and we really appreciate that perspective to taking care of your skin. It's really, really helpful. Thank you. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I am very excited to welcome our third speaker tonight, Odette Coronel. Odette is a certified life and relationship coach and mentor. She helps smart, high-achieving women learn to become more successful in their relationships. There we go. Odette, here we go. Continue on. Her clients learn to identify and stop self-sabotaging behaviors, as well as deepen connection, improve communication, and have more intimacy in their relationships by reigniting the spark within themselves. She helps clients cultivate self-awareness, set goals that are in alignment with their values, and take steps to lead a life filled with meaning and purpose. She is dedicated to empowering her clients to live to their highest potential and become the best versions of themselves. Welcome, Odette.
Thank you, Namita. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here today. And, relationships are all about connection, and it's such a pleasure to be connecting here with all of you today in honor of International Women's Day. And I'm going to be talking to you about how to make relationships work. And it's based on Dr. John Gottman's 7 principles for making marriage work. And while these principles, they're focused on marriage, and it's based on, over 40 years of research on long-term marriages, it can really be applied to all other types of relationships, and including the most important relationship that you will ever have, which is the relationship with yourself. So how you treat yourself, your internal self-talk, how you feel about yourself. So as I'm speaking here to you today, just use the information in any way that applies to you and is most relevant in your life. But what are the characteristics of a happy, satisfied, long-lasting relationships? If you feel free to share in the comment what you think some of those characteristics are. And by the end of my talk here today, I hope that you'll be able to answer those questions and think about how you can apply more of what these happy, satisfied, long-lasting relationships do into your own relationships in your life. And, the reason that I coach people on relationships, and I really love what I do, is that I believe that marriage or your relationship, it really should be your safe haven. It should be a source of comfort and support and fun. Life is very challenging, and, life has very difficult moments, but I believe that your relationship should not be the source of your hardship. You should be able to celebrate happy moments as well as face life's challenges together. And I believe that at the very core, life is about relationships, and the quality of those relationships impacts the quality of our lives. It's what gives us meaning and purpose. Now, if we look at it on a global lens, through a global lens, there are over 7 billion people on the planet. And our ability to connect and relate with one another is crucial. It's the key to world peace, to harmony, and even to our survival. Now, if you take a look at it on a personal level and you look at your own personal world, the person that you choose to share your life with is probably the most important decision that you will ever make. And it is a choice. You don't get to choose your parents, you don't get to choose your siblings or your children, but you do get to choose your life partner. And the quality of that relationship in particular will greatly impact not just your relationship, but your health, your finances, how you parent. So it's important that you really know your own values, you know what type of life and what type of relationship you want, you know what your standards are and what your boundaries are, so that then you can choose someone that is in alignment with the type of relationship and the type of life that you want. Now, if you've been married for a while and you made your choice a long time ago, like I did, it's normal to sometimes feel unsatisfied in your marriage. But as long as you know that you do love each other, you respect and admire each other, and you are committed to the relationship, it's possible to reignite the spark in your marriage and get back into alignment. Dr. Terry Real says that all relationships have a natural cycle of harmony, disharmony, and then repair. And how we repair is what really matters. And that can actually be a catalyst for bringing you closer together. But don't wait until there's a crisis until you start working on improving your relationship. You've got to be proactive. I once heard Tony Robbins say that people tend to major in minor things. Well, I think that relationship with your life partner is a major thing. So why not make it a priority to master the skills and the principles that will make that relationship an A+. And it's really about cultivating a foundation of friendship, appreciation, partnership, safety, and trust. Think about it. What happens to a house if you don't build a strong foundation? Without a strong foundation, you can't build a strong relationship, the kind of relationship that's going to weather the storms of life. And remember, whether you're single or married, the most important relationship that you will ever have is the relationship with yourself. So make sure that you cultivate those qualities within yourself. Know yourself, know your values, cultivate self-love, self-compassion, appreciation, safety, and trust. So now, what are those characteristics of happy, satisfied, long-lasting couples? What are the principles that make relationships work? Well, the first one is enhance your love maps. And this is one way to build that foundation of friendship. It's how well the couple knows each other. And it takes time to build this love map. It starts when you're dating, and it should really continue throughout the relationship. It's knowing each other's qualities and characteristics and values and beliefs. The second principle is nurture fondness and admiration. And it's really about remembering the importance of actually liking each other. And it's about focusing on your partner's positive qualities, expressing gratitude, finding ways to appreciate each other. So you can actually choose to mentally rehearse all of the positive qualities about your partner, or you can mentally rehearse and think about all of the annoying, irritating, negative qualities about your partner. What do you want to focus on? Because you have a choice. So it's literally choosing to think about each other in fond ways and admiring ways instead of critically and negatively. And the goal is to have more positive than negative interactions as well. It's about building your emotional love bank. So for every negative interaction that you and your partner have, you need to have at least 5 positive interactions or more. Then the third principle is turning towards each other instead of away. And this means basically being there for your partner when they need you, listening to their concerns and being supportive, and paying attention to small bids for connection. Some are really obvious. Like, for example, if I extend my hand to my husband for him to hold my hand, that's a bid for connection or affection. And other bids are more subtle. But when a bid is received, you can either acknowledge it or turn away. And if you don't acknowledge it and you turn away, the partner ends up feeling rejected. But turning towards each other in small ways is what really builds deep connection over time. It's not that occasional romantic dinner or weekend getaway that builds romance. It's really turning towards each other and connecting in small, simple ways on a regular basis. The fourth principle is let your partner influence you. And this really is about valuing their opinions and ideas and being willing to compromise and make joint decisions. It's also about not having an attitude of, wanting to win all the time or wanting to be right all the time. Accepting influence is just about being open to the ideas and opinions of your partner. The fifth principle is solve your solvable problems. So there are two types of problems in every relationship, solvable and perpetual. 69% of problems that a couple has are perpetual problems. All couples, not just the unhappy ones, every couple. And they can't be solved despite repeated attempts to solve them. Only 31% of their problems are actually solvable, which means that they're able to resolve them and then move on. And the solvable problems are usually more situational, but it's important to solve them so that they don't fester and build resentment and then grow into something even bigger. But you have to solve them by using effective communication. And remember that the way that you start a conversation is usually the way that it's going to end. So if you start using a harsh tone, the discussion will probably end pretty badly. And avoid using criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. The sixth principle is to overcome gridlock. Now, a perpetual problem, it damages the relationship when it becomes gridlock. And signs of gridlock are if you're feeling rejected, if you're starting to vilify each other, if you're each rooted in your positions and you're starting to really feel polarized, and eventually you start to disengage emotionally. And the way that you overcome gridlock is by finding the deeper meaning or the underlying belief behind the gridlock. And in order to do this, you have to have empathy. You have to try to understand how your partner came to believe whatever it is that they believe, or how they came to develop that perspective. They may have some kind of underlying dream or some kind of underlying fear, right? The goal is to get to a place of acceptance and respectful dialogue, not to necessarily to resolve the problem. And the seventh and final principle is create shared meaning. So when two people form a relationship, they're really creating a new micro universe. And it's the joining of two people from different backgrounds and different ways of doing things, and then blending them together to form something new. And it's that blending of individuality and togetherness that you do in a way that honors both the individual and the relationship. And you do this by creating that shared vision of your future together, and also finding ways to connect on a deeper level and share important values and beliefs. And this starts when you're dating, but it should continue throughout all of your years together. And this is what really makes it special. It's what makes the relationship worth repairing and getting back into harmony in those moments of disharmony. This shared meaning is what eventually becomes how you define your relationship. So, bottom line, couples whose relationship continue to grow invest time in nourishing it. And the same can be true for any important relationship in your life, including the relationship with yourself. So as a thank you for listening, I invite you to visit odettecoronel.com/free session and book a free complimentary discovery coaching session with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Odette. That was amazing. I myself learned a lot, and I would love to know more. But first I'm going to go with the questions in the chat, even though I have some questions as well. Okay, so here's one. This is a little bit complex, so I'm going to go slow. Okay, so one question: how does an extended family impact marriage relationships? In other words, how do we protect the couple's relationship when there's other family members involved. And how do you protect the couple's relationship from the extended family's involvement, which becomes a part of your married life anyway?
Right.
And so I don't know how familiar you are. Quite a few people on this panel are from my cultural background, which is Indian. So sometimes you live with your extended family, sometimes you have to spend extended periods of time with them. And it's so I think the question is about those dynamics.
Yeah, right. I think that's a great question. And I think that the key is communication and boundaries. It's very important that the couple, first of all, prioritize the couple. That is the primary, your new nucleus is the relationship that you form with your life partner. And together you have to decide, communicate what it is that you want for your relationship. You have to establish boundaries. And then once you've established that boundaries, when we establish boundaries, they're for ourselves. They're really not for others. It's up for us to respect our own boundaries. And as I think it was Nancy that said before, we teach people how to treat us and how to interact with us. And it's up to us to create those boundaries and communicate them. But it starts by the couple having that conversation and deciding together what those boundaries are. And you can do that. You can do it respectfully. It doesn't have to be an argument. It's just respectfully, because that's ultimately what's going to be most peaceful and for the highest good of the relationship, which will then impact, the rest of the family that's living in the household.
That's a good point. Boundaries that are implemented respectfully. Thank you for that. Another question is that of these 7 principles, where do you start? So is there a particular one that you have to maybe prioritize, or in what order, or like if you had to focus on a 1 or 2 to start, where do you start?
Well, the very first principle, which is about the love map, it's really about getting to know each other very deeply. And it starts with friendship. And I think every long-lasting relationship starts with a deep friendship and getting to know each other, because as you get to know each other more deeply, you understand and know their good qualities, but you also understand their faults. But you are able to accept the faults within the context of all the other good stuff. But you have to really know each other well enough first. So I would start with the very first principle, creating that love map and really getting to know each other and establishing that friendship together. And that continues throughout the relationship.
Another question, and so this builds off of that, is that you mentioned, I know you mentioned this to us earlier, that these principles can be applied to any relationship. So would you say the same for building a friendship, even with yourself, like getting to know yourself, or where would you start with that one?
Absolutely. Sometimes we want people, and we want our partner in particular to meet our needs. And sometimes we don't know what we need. We don't know what we want. So we have to spend that time in that self-discovery, getting to know ourselves, maybe spend a little time journaling, think about, what are my values? What are my beliefs? What are the things that are important to me? Because once you know that, then you're able to then communicate that to your partner or any other relationship that you may have, a friend or a family member. So it really is important to apply all of these things to yourself first. Like I mentioned before, the most important relationship that you're ever going to have is the relationship with yourself. And by knowing yourself, you're going to know if you do meet someone and you do start dating someone and they're not in alignment with the things that you want and the things that you value, you know that the relationship is not going to work out. But if you don't know and you don't spend time thinking about that, you may just accept, whatever kind of, is presented to you, or whoever starts dating. So it's important that you really get to know and apply these things to yourself first.
It's a very important point. You know yourself so that you know what you want and what you need. Very, very good. Thank you so much. Every time I talk to Odette, I learn so much. And you're just so inviting in the way you speak. So thank you. We loved having you on. So can you drop in your information into the chat? And speakers who have gone before Odette, please do the same. Drop your contact information in the chat. Everyone's following. And so they're very easily able to copy and paste and drop things down. So thank you. Everyone is giving great feedback about your session. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I'm going to put it in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Odette. Okay. Here we go. All right. Well, I am very excited to announce our next speaker, Sneha Vats. Sneha, I'm going to ask you to start your video.
Okay.
There we go. All right. You're going to learn some great tips from her. Sneha is a proud mom of 3 and a career-focused executive. Over time and a roller coaster of emotions, she's focused on managing home and work with the goal of organizing the mental and physical chaos. I love the way you say that. She's dedicated to helping working moms and new moms boost their productivity and make lasting and impactful changes. Her focus is to help moms and women create their own path and goals through a tailored program to go from overwhelmed to organized. Having management certifications as well as certified tools and techniques, she focuses on each individual on areas of stress and needs for change, while also providing accountability and support along the way. Welcome, Sneha.
Thank you so much, Namita, for having me. I've learned so much from everybody. I really appreciate the opportunity. I am going to take a moment. For me, a lot of what I've started doing and how I got into this was from personal experience. I have had a very, knock on wood, successful career. I have 3 beautiful children. I have a very loving family, extended family, parents who supported me through everything. And all of that has taught me a lot along the way, but I've also learned that it requires a lot of patience. Honestly, I noticed that as I started having a family and I started getting more senior in my career, I was having a harder time finding what balance meant for me. I give my husband a lot of credit. He puts up with a lot when it comes to me, but it's also, we found a balance with one another. Really, whether you're a working mom, a stay-at-home mom, or just a female, society has made us drive in 1,000 directions. It's not normal. It's not okay. We have a constant desire to be organized. I can be scrolling through my Instagram reel. I see an organized fridge, someone who's decanted all the food in their pantry. It's making me feel like it's something I want to do. It's not real. It's not realistic. It's an unrealistic feeling of being perfect or striving for perfection all the time. So therefore, I started working with people individually or through core groups where we meet weekly or biweekly to identify ways to get organized, both mentally and physically. Most importantly, it's how to find the balance and the ability to feel at ease at the end of the day. I'm going to go through some examples of how we tackle this in our programs in hopes that it can help you today. I'm going to go ahead and start, and please ask any questions as you have them. So the first focus we work on in my sessions is really identifying what balance means to you. It should be, and it is different for every individual. Taking time to figure out what that means, it's the most important thing. It's the foundation to feeling more productive and more balanced. So for some, it's electronics down, putting away the computer when they enter the home with their families. For others, it's working fewer days throughout the week, if that's an option for you. It's really going to come from understanding your priorities, your abilities, both financially and personally, as well as what support you have around you. The second step is schedule. We spend at least 1 to 2 weeks focusing on this alone. The goal is how we can set up a schedule that works for you and those around you. So it comes down to 15 minutes a day. It's not a lot. It's not a lot, but it's enough to give you more mental space. So there are many ways to do this. We'll identify the best method for your specific situation, but I'm going to share 2 simple examples today. So I do the 2 P's, my 2 P's, prep and prioritize. Prep, using the delegate and elevate concept. How can you delegate tasks you take on to others and elevate yourself out of those situations? It's giving yourself time back. I do this with work very frequently. It helps me not turn into a micromanager. We all know that sometimes it seems easier to just do things yourself. It seems faster. For me, it's the dishwasher. I want help, but man, if you're not going to load it the right way, I'll lose it. So I need to prepare items I can hand off each day or week, and I follow through on it. I find simple things I can afford to let go of, and you have to honestly let go of them. If you spent 2 minutes now thinking about it, I guarantee you everyone can think of a couple things that they don't need to do, but they end up doing because they feel like it's easier at home. Not necessarily. Don't micromanage, just do it. It's the biggest complaint I've gotten from my family, and I've taken it to heart. It automatically gives me some time back in my day. Prioritize, sticky notes. I have a lot of them. They're my best friend. I use them for lunch notes, office notes, to-do lists. Sometimes I just give my kids a stack of sticky notes and let them put them all over the house. It's a distraction. One thing I have a lot of working moms do is a 1, 2, 3 priority list. It's a method. I use it weekly with work, and I encourage the use for it at home too. You make a list of all your to-do items for the week or for the month. Then we'll put a specific number next to each item. 1 next to a number or next to an item means it has to happen that day. 2 means it has to happen that week, and 3 means it has to happen that month. Looking and adding to this list daily takes 5 minutes. Once you get the hang of it, it'll take even less. You can do it on your phone, super easy. You start having the 3s turn into 2s, the 2s turn into 1s. Things are starting to get off your list. New things are starting to roll in. You're not feeling as overwhelmed, and things are getting off your plate and things aren't looming for you. It's all about simplicity. So it really comes down to simplicity, accepting imperfections, and having a network. Keeping things simple, not making things larger than they need to be, I think is really important. Allowing yourself that 15 minutes a day to find tasks to simplify. For example, for me in my home, it's creating a meal plan for the week. It's for school lunches and for dinners. You have already simplified your shopping list, so you're not wandering around the grocery store. You also have planned for the week, so you're not stressed at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday thinking of what you're going to make while everyone's screaming at you at one time. Accepting imperfections. Nothing is perfect at all. As much as I aspire personally to have an Instagram Reels home of neutral colors and a white couch and no clutter, it's not real. I got 3 little kids. I know that. I've accepted that. It's my empty nester goal. Once we've created a true balance plan, we can identify things that are must-dos that cause stress. If having a clean kitchen in the morning makes you happier and toys spread out all over the floor are fine, then at night, your priority is cleaning the kitchen. It's letting the extra toys stay there, not adding more to your plate, and accepting those imperfect things. It'll cause you greater happiness at the end of the day. The last thing is working together. It's a phrase that takes a village. It makes sense. I just think the definition of a village has changed. It's not always just family. It's mom chats. It's therapists. It's your child's caretaker. It's having the ability to lean on others, even for advice. It's very important. It also holds you accountable to making those things happen. Being focused on having a mental stress-free zone and finding what balance means for you is the key. It's something that I find a lot of joy in, and I've enjoyed talking to other people about. It lets you focus on things that you want to do, not just things you need to do, which is really important. So if any of this is interesting or something you'd like to learn more about, I'd love to share more techniques and tips. Namita, thank you for giving me the platform to talk about this today. As a thank you, I'm going to be giving away 2 free mentoring sessions via raffle on Instagram at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Check out my handle. I'll put it in the chat, Organized Chaos NY on Instagram. And if you just follow the directions from my post this evening, you can enter that. I'm also starting 2 new mentoring groups. One for working moms and one for new moms. So if you're interested in joining one of those groups, please feel free to email me. We're going to cap them at 5 people each. I'll put my email information in there as well.
Thank you. I was really excited about this as a fellow mom of 3 and also career-focused woman. And any questions for Sneha, please drop them in the chat. I have one. I'm going to kick us off. I was wondering, where does somebody start? Notice the theme in my question. Where do you start if you feel very overwhelmed and you are not sure, like, which one is the most important thing? Is it the 1, 2, 3 list? Is it the P's? I'd like, you have these methods. What do we do besides contact you?
We're all sure. We're all on our phones. So the easiest thing is to open a note on your phone and just start a 1, 2, 3 list. It's just listing everything. It's like a brain dump. Put everything that needs to get done on there, and then just start organizing your thought of when it needs to actually get done. Not everything needs to happen tomorrow. So doing that 1, 2, 3 list, I think, really does help and kickstarts you to realizing that you can feel more accomplished.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So starting with the 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I have a question from someone. Have you always been organized like this?
No.
Have you always?
Well, I mean, yes, I think a version of me has always been like this. I think what really forced me to get a little bit more focused on my self-organization came from having a larger household, right? It was just more people, more calendars, more things. And I really sat down and thought about how I can kind of organize myself to make myself feel happier.
Okay. So this is like learned over time and
A little
shared.
bit, yeah.
Okay. Here's another question. How do you do it all if you have a partner who has a chaotic schedule or is never around? I'm very organized. This person is very organized, but gets overwhelmed and then gets, it's tough.
I get it. I've lived it too. The easiest thing is lean on those around you. I know it's easier said than done sometimes, whether it's a caretaker, a neighbor, a family member. It's also not resenting, which I think sometimes happens when your partner is back and also probably rightfully so tired and exhausted when they're back and they're ready to relax and you're thinking, okay, here are all the things that need to get done. I've been doing it myself. Where have you been? It's having set expectations ahead of time of what you would like them to do. Being really clear of what that is, I think also takes some of the load off of you for when they are back, but not feeling like they're attacked with, a nice long list of items where you've held on to them. So I think that's probably one thing that could help is the communication of that ahead of time.
And the planning. It sounds like it's planning. Like, so you're already planning, okay, if you're going to be gone, when you come back, this is what I would expect.
And it takes 5 minutes to talk about 100%.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Any more questions for Sneha? Please stay on because we're going to do a full panel Q&A at the end. And Sneha, please drop your information
I will
into the chat so that everybody can sign up and start following you for those raffles that you're going to
Thank you
out at 9 a.m. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. Our next speaker hails from Buenos Aires today. I believe that you're still there unless you're traveling somewhere else. All right, here we go. Talia. So Coach Talia helps ambitious women who struggle with confidence to believe in their gifts and achieve success in social impact careers. She is a foundation coach accredited by the Association of Coaching and a member of the International Association Neurogestalt. I hope I'm pronouncing everything okay. Her approach is a combination of analytical and creative coaching methods, which I'm super excited to learn about, including a cutting-edge method of neurographica. Welcome, Talia.
Thank you. Hello, beautiful people. It's such an honor and pleasure to be among these amazing, powerful women and great audience, among panel and audience. And we have a lot to cover, so I'm going to jump straight to my topic. And today I'm bringing you a recipe for personal empowerment. What is personal empowerment? So in my definition, personal empowerment is about taking responsibility for your own life and making decisions based on what you want. So if you're someone who tend to put someone else's needs before yours, or maybe you have people-pleasing tendencies and or you're a hyper-responsible one that everyone around relies on, this is definitely, you have to listen to it. This is for you. And but I think that in general, the practice that I'm going to give you is for everyone to come back at different periods of your life. And so how do you empower yourself by making decisions based on what you want? It is essential to know what you want. Duh, right? It's like common sense, but it's not common action. And I want you to remember this, that knowing yourself is an action. You have to make intentional steps towards learning, discovering, uncovering all different sides of you. And this question, right? Like it's one of the most powerful questions that you can ask yourself. What do you want? What do you really want? And maybe you've been asked that before, and the answer was something like, I want happiness, I want fulfillment, I want peace, or I want success. Those answers are not very helpful because they are too broad, and this is something that we need to get very detailed and very practical. So this is the deal. I'm going to give you practical guidance towards achieving personal empowerment by getting clarity on your needs. I have recently a client of mine found herself in a challenging situation where her initial belief was that either decision she makes in that situation, she's losing, because if she speaks up, she's going to perceived in a judgmental certain way, and if she silences herself, she is going to betray herself. And that part where she thought that if she's going to voice her true feelings, her true thoughts, she thought that she would be perceived needy. Ooh, that word, like, I don't know, like, have you felt that before, when you feel that judgment and that label, or you fear that you will be labeled needy? And I want you to think about it, right? Because this word, it's hard pill to swallow, but this word is commonly used by manipulators in your life, and someone who would gaslight you or devalue and decrease the significance of what you're asking for. So, ladies, everyone who is here, I want you to be needy AF, like, feel it, embrace it, acknowledge your needs, because being needy means knowing what you need to be happy, knowing what you need to feel fulfilled, knowing how to get success in your life. So here you go, please be it. And you are not a child anymore, right? Remember what I said at the beginning, personal empowerment, it is about taking responsibility. And it is your responsibility to know, to be needy, and to know what makes your life great, what makes your life fulfilled. So let's get to the practice. And if you haven't had yet, I recommend pen and paper to take notes, because I'll be giving you some reflection questions. And I want you to come back to this practice when you have more time, more space to really dive into it. So I want you to get clear on 3 basic needs. And the first one is security. What does it mean for you, right? We are not looking at cliche answers. We need to get to the core of your personality. What does it mean to you? And I want you to look at 3 areas. So first is safety, physical, psychological, emotional safety. What is it, right? What makes you feel safe? Where you can allow yourself to just like breathe out and relax. That feeling, I'm okay. The second area where you want to define what security means for you is relationships, right? And I'm sure there are lots that Odette shared that you can work from. And here, right, depending on your personality, depending on your values, your quirks, that would be the focus will shift. And here, of course, I want to mention that we are not talking about the basic, right? For example, we absolutely exclude physical violence, right? And this is basic foundation for everyone. I want you to look beyond it to describe what makes you feel secure in a relationship. And the third area, financial security. I strongly believe that financial security for women is very important. And here, I invite you to define maybe the depth of what you need in finances. So, for example, for someone, I need X amount of money in savings, and that will allow me not to worry. And for another person, I need to know my numbers. I need to know my expenses, my budgets, my investments, all of it. So look at it, what it is for you. So continuing on the 3 basic needs. So the second one is social contacts. It is about your coworkers, your book club members, your friends, of course. And I want you to define How do you want to feel in relationships? How do you want to feel in those interactions? How do you want to connect to people? And look at both sides, right? What traits do you want to see in them? And what you can bring to this relationship? How can you contribute to it? So here again, like you can look coworkers, you can look your group of friends by interest. Maybe it's like a book club, a dancing class, yoga class, and other friends, right? And here, like, define that feeling of what do you want to feel in social contexts. The third basic need may be surprising to you, because when I learned first, that was very surprising to me. And but it is a basic need of human being, and it is admiration. Yes, it is admiration. It is about love, about your uniqueness, about seeing that world within you, about recognizing and seeing your quirks, your special traits, your special sauce, you know. And it is so often this need for admiration, often followed by shame. A lot of times we shrink. We don't want to show off to get that attention, to get that admiration, but we all want it. And if you see someone showing off and getting all the attention, and you notice yourself that feeling of judgment maybe, and or maybe jealousy, that's a good sign that you crave that admiration, and you deserve that admiration just by being you, just because you are here in this amazing place called Earth. But I want you to get details, right? Like, we're always looking at those like special moments, unique things about you. So how do you want to receive admiration? What do you want to be recognized for or acknowledged for? And there is no good or bad here, right? Because so for someone, it will be admiring my service, how I take care of someone. And for others, it may be achievements, and maybe it looks, right? Like, I put a nice dress and I want my partner to acknowledge it. This is important to me. And this is the foundations, right? So let's sum up. So 3 basic needs. First, security. And we look at safety, relationships, and financial security. The second one is social contacts. So here you can look at coworkers, interest clubs, and your friendships. And third is admiration. And here you can divide into, let's say, career at work. What do you want to be admired at work? And relationship, right? Like romance, friendships. So these elements are part of my program, Manual to Yourself. And I have this metaphor that I would like to share with you. It is, imagine you bought this expensive luxury piece of clothing, let's say a dress. And this dress comes with a tag with the instruction for care, right? And the more elaborated the piece, so maybe there are like some handmade ornaments and different fabrics combined together, the more complex and more detailed will be instructions. So think about it. A freaking dress has instructions for care. What about you? You are the most treasured, the most powerful, the most valuable item in your own life. So I want you to take good care of yourself. And it starts with knowing what you need. And I want you to be needy. I already said that. And I want you to practice it. So as a practice, I have a gift for you. And this is a coaching session, a free coaching session. But I want you to claim it, right? So so follow me on Instagram. You have a handle here, and I'll drop it in the chat too. And DM me the word needy, right? So first, I want you to practice saying that word with new perspective, with empowered perspective. And second, I want you to practice asking what you want. So if you want that coaching session, DM me needy and you shall receive. Thank you for listening, and I'm here to answer your questions if there are any.
Thank you, Talia. Needy. I love it. And it goes so well with the theme for International Women's Day, which is embracing equity. We talked about that because you deserve it. I even jotted down, I took notes here, and you deserve admiration. Sometimes we judge others, for things that they're asking for. And you made a really good point about that actually shows you what you desire. And so if you're feeling something towards someone, any sort of judgment or jealousy or anything, that's actually showing you what you want. So
and I want to add, like, be compassionate with it. Like, if you notice that judgment or jealousy, be compassionate with yourself. This is just a compass that's showing you something, giving you message. So
yeah, it's so true. This so there's a question, which is, how do you start to be needy when culturally it's looked at as a negative trait?
Start small. That's where you start, right? Small things, like go through these questions and find, like, let's say maybe it's easier to start doing it with your friends, right? There to look through the social contacts and having those conversations in that area. Or maybe, right, like maybe you follow Odette's, like the rules of relationships, and it will be like you feel that connection with your partner where you can start building that showing what you need, right? So start small and start where it's easier to start for you, right? Important, no like a generic or like start there because it is for you.
That's a really good point. First, you have to analyze what you need, being needy, and then you go from there and start small. All right. Well, thank you so much, Talia. It was so wonderful to hear this very different approach to and perspective of personal empowerment. But absolutely, it is so empowering to hear this. And it's that's what we're here. We're empowering you through connection. Please drop your handle into the chat, and remember, she's giving away coaching session if you direct message her needy. So please, please, please make sure you do that. Okay. All right. I'm going to have to ask you to start your video, I believe. There we go. All right. Last but not least speaker is my dear friend and colleague, Melissa Stiers. Melissa is a certified advanced international protocol officer, a leadership and success coach, and an accomplished event marketing and nonprofit executive with experience in the corporate, tech, and government sectors. She's a powerhouse, guys. Melissa has been privileged to work with, advise, and train members of royal families, politicians, nonprofits, and business influencers worldwide. She believes in the transformative power of ideas and the potential of business to drive social change for good. From the boardroom to the banquet hall, Melissa knows how to motivate and lead her clients to achieve greatness. And she is going to motivate us right now. So welcome, Melissa. So happy.
Hi, how are you? I'm putting my stuff in the chat. Let's see. Can I put my stuff in the chat right now so I don't forget?
Oh, that's a great idea.
Maybe not. If not, I'll do it afterwards. So I am super, super, super duper happy to be with you all. Thanks for hanging with me. I'm thrilled to be here. These ladies are powerhouses. I cannot think of a better way to go into our weekend. In the United States, at least, we're going into our weekend tomorrow. Starts Friday. Wherever you are in the world, you're going to watch this, or you're watching the replay. Thank you so much for having me. I'm here to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is confidence, kick butt confidence. And I am going to go fast because we're just going to hit on a few things. One of the biggest things that I wanted to talk to you about today was where lack of confidence shows up in your life, and some myths that we can bust, and just one small thing that we can implement when you leave here today. So I've got a whole presentation, training, all this stuff on all the ways that you can have real confidence show up in your life. But I first just wanted to address areas of where you can note that you have a lack of confidence. And why is this so important? Well, this is important because lack of confidence shows up in so many areas. All right. Where does lack of confidence show up? Well, first of all, we're women. So we're already making like 80 cents on the dollar to a man. Okay. Well, then add lack of confidence to that. That it shows up in our earnings, in what we earn in our earning potential. It shows up, and this is for men and women, this is where lack of confidence shows up. It shows up in our entrepreneurial risks. So they're adverse to really starting that business. You're adverse to maybe taking that new job because it has, 10 descriptions of it and only 3 of them you think you can do. It definitely shows up in us taking financial risk. One area that is newly been identified for me, and I'm just curious if this resonates with you, but it shows up in what I like to label mean girl behavior. And that is something that I'm so tired of this day and age, of mean girl behavior. That's why I love this panel. I love that you ladies are here with us today, just encouraging one another, trying to get nuggets, trying to soak up what you can, and also be there for one another, because mean girl behavior, and just like we heard, kind of looking at where is this coming from or what's happening, mean girl behavior is seen in the workplace, it's seen on the playground, it's seen in the PTA. I've seen it, I've witnessed it. And a lot of times that behavior is stemming from a lack of confidence. All right. So those are some areas where it shows up. It shows up in your body language, how you present to people, how you speak. It shows up how you engage. And I think we've heard a consistent message through everyone in some form or fashion that it shows up in our overall belief system. It shows up in the stories that we are telling ourselves and the tapes that we play over and over and over again. That is where a lack of confidence shows up. And I don't know, as you're listening to these things, if any of that resonates with you, if you can think to a fact that, man, I didn't advocate for that raise, or geez, I really did want to take that risk, but I held back. Or why was I being so territorial over hosting the book fair for the PTA? Is that you? Did I step on a toe? That is an area of lack of confidence. And before we get into how to really own and tap into your confidence, I wanted to bust a couple of myths for you, and myths, not myths, myths. I'm going to try to share my screen really quickly with you, because there are some myths that I wanted to bust. And let's see, can I do this? Do you see my screen?
Yes,
Tammy?
we see it.
All right. So the first myth is, Melissa, I am not outgoing. I am not an ENJFP, extrovert. That is not who I am. That's not how I am. I'm a wallflower. I don't want to go talk to people. I'm not loud. I'm not like you. I haven't been on a stage since I was 2. That does not equal confidence. And I use these 2 pictures. I use the woman on the top, Shonda Rhimes. You may have heard of her. She's created a TV empire, Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder. She's got like a bajillion-dollar Netflix deal. If you've read her book, Year of Yes, you will know that she is definitely not an outgoing person. She is definitely not someone that was used to being on the stage. But when you look at this photo of her, when you look at this whole image, that right there is a confident human being. It's not somebody that I would say is outgoing. I wouldn't even say she's bubbly. I definitely wouldn't say it below with the CEO of Apple right now, right? I would not say that Tim Cook is super bubbly. I mean, I believe when I met him, he was very reserved. He is low key. His mannerisms are low key. He's not blinged out. He's not all things to all people. But I tell you what, that man he's freaking confident. I mean, he's running Apple. So there's a confidence there. So I wanted to bust that first myth for you. You do not have to be outgoing. You do not have to want to be on a stage to be confident and possess confidence and leadership confidence. And when I say leadership confidence, I mean leading in your own life. It doesn't matter if you're leading in your household, in your place of worship, in your place of volunteering, in your job. Confident leadership needs to show up and be present everywhere because it impacts everything. But you don't have to be outgoing to be a confident leader. Number 2, confidence does not equal cocky. So let me say that for the cheap seats in the back. I coached a gentleman who grew up playing sports. He was on the baseball field and he really had a huge hang up with cockiness, because I think in sports, I'm not athletic at all, and that is okay. I didn't grow up playing on a bunch of teams or anything, but cockiness was always on the playing field. It was always like talking smack to each other and, who can show up who first. And I worked in Washington, D.C. for about 15 years. And I will share that that city is filled with some of the most cocky people in the world. They are so rude. They're so self-seeking. They are so just over the top ridiculous. And cockiness is not something that I ever ascribe to be. Cockiness does not equal confidence. Okay. So I want that removed from your mind. And I want to give you an explanation. I'm sorry, a story that I feel really relates what true confidence is. I was stepped into helping with an event or run an event to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Sultan of Oman's reign, the late Sultan now. My mentor and retired ambassador, he reached out to me, and I kind of jumped in 6 weeks with planning time to really make this work. And I worked with the Omani ambassador to really throw this off. And I'm sharing this for a reason. So really pitched in, worked hard, to get this event off the ground and make it amazing. And at this time, if you've ever done events, you know that in the world of events and protocol, you normally stay in the background. You're in black, you're kind of up against the wall, you're only running around when somebody really needs something, but you set it up, you direct, and then you let it take place. And that's what normally happens. At the end of this event, however, my wonderful mentor and the man that I helped kind of salvage this event for celebrating the Sultan's reign, he actually called me up at the very end of the night and he thanked me publicly, which was just so beautiful and very unexpected. And he gave me flowers, and it was in front of an audience, which just was a really neat moment. And then afterwards, it was like the end of the night. And at the end of the event, one of our guests was Queen Noor, the former Queen of Jordan. She lives between Jordan and DC. She was an attendee. She was a VIP guest of the event, and she left with her entourage. And I just remember her posture was amazing. She just eluded just such grace, such confidence. And she is, a former queen. She still has the title queen and Her Majesty. And she actually left, and then she walked back into the banquet hall where the event had been held, where I was. And she came up to me and she reached out and she shook my hand and said, thank you for a wonderful evening. And then she left. And so I share that story as an opportunity to see and to share that the former Queen of Jordan, the Queen Mother, Queen Noor, who's written books, who is all over the world, who is one of the most confident, strong, amazing leaders of our time, she is not cocky. She humbled herself to come back and thank the person that did the event. And so I really would like, that's something that I hope you always keep in mind, that cockiness is not confidence. And the third myth that I would like to bust for you today, if I can do it, is that, right, here we go, that you must be good at everything, that you must be all things to all people, that you can't make mistakes, that being confident in any area, whether it's being a confident mother, being a confident businesswoman, being a confident dog mom, caretaker, speaker, presenter, volunteer, that whatever area you're in, you have to be excellent and you have to have no mistakes, because there's no way I can be confident if I know, oh my goodness, I'm not sure that I'm able to do the screen and talk at the same time. I'm not sure that I'm not going to say the word or that I could, forget my lines or something, so that I can't be confident. That is a total absolute lie. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. You do not have to be perfect to exude confidence in any area of your life. That's a lie. And I think we've heard it touched on a bunch. That's kind of a lie that we're being fed specifically recently through social media. So you don't have to be an extrovert to have confidence. You do not have to know everything or be the brilliant, most Einstein of the field or the industry or the area that where you want to exude confidence. And confidence does not equal cocky. It does not have to look like cockiness. Confidence can come in humility. And so I know we don't have a lot of time. So I wanted to do just one area where confidence can show up in your life right now. And that is through body language. I don't know if you've noticed, but every single presenter today, their body language was beautiful. They were open. They used hand gestures. it's very difficult on Zoom because you want to look at the camera, but you want to look at your audience or the chat, but they maintained eye contact when they could. And so I wanted to just go through a few motions with you. If you will shake it off with me and kind of just get into your body for a moment, kind of how we started. If you want to really lead with confidence, and I'm going to take us into a boardroom or a PTA room or a business setting of some sorts. If you want to present with confidence, you need to appear open and accepting. You need to have hands open. You don't have to talk with your hands, but when you're scrunched like this, when you're hunched like this, when you're slumping down, that exudes a lack of confidence. Something else that I wanted to touch on is clicking and fidgeting. I'm a fidgeter. I'm actually a nail biter and I'm a nail picker. It's not because I'm not confident. I could sit here right now and pick my nails all day. That though, if I were to do that, one, it shows maybe I'm disengaged, but two, any type of fidgeting shows a lack of confidence. So when you are speaking or when you are engaging and listening, pay attention to those fidgeting areas, whether it's clicking a pen, whether it's shaking your knee, tapping into the table, tapping that, it's just a nervous tick, whether it's biting your fingernails, twisting rings, twisting hair. We all have these like massive heads of hair, so it's really easy to start doing this. I encourage you that when you're presenting or when you're listening, to gather your fingers, gather your hands, either hold them in your lap. You can hold them open if you want to. You can hold the sides of the chairs. You can hold them over your knee, but calm your body down and pay attention to fidgeting, because when you fidget, you are showing a lack of confidence. And maybe it is because you're flipping nervous, and that's okay, but calm your body down. Another way to exude confidence with body language is to get yourself pumped up before you go in. And that is, I would stand up and I'll go above the thing. That is to get into some power poses. I know we've heard this all the time, power poses, but they actually do work. They really do work, and they help you with your balance. And once again, we started off this entire session with breathing and being in your body and feeling where you were, 2 feet on the ground. Well, when you are able to do some power poses before you've got to go in there and negotiate that raise, or you've got to go in there and say, I'm running the book fair at PTA, thank you very much. Or you've got to go in there and tell your husband or your spouse or your partner, I'm advocating for some quality time for myself, thank you so much. You might need to boister yourself up, and that comes with body language, and that comes with some confidence. So one easy way to exude confidence is through your body language. And one second way that I'm going to leave you with is also what you've just done today, or what you've done this evening, is confident leaders, they don't know everything, right? That was a myth that we busted. They show up and they learn what they don't know, or they gather people around themselves who can feed into them and pour into them and teach them. I was taking so many notes today because I don't know all the stuff that was presented to me. I love all these tidbits. So what confident leaders do and how to become more confident is to say, hey, I don't know this. I'm not sure about this, or let me ask questions. And it's really easy to do when we're in a chat and we can't see somebody's face. And it's a little harder to do when you're in a job and you've been promoted, but you don't understand what the deliverables are. It's a little hard when you just moved to a new state or a new school and you're checking your child in and they use all these acronyms like the ABCs of the DDF, and you're going to have the FTXT. It's a little embarrassing maybe even to say, I don't know this. I'm not sure what this means or what I'm supposed to do. I encourage you to tap into that inner confidence and speak up, because when you own what you don't know, it does not come across as a lack of confidence. It actually projects more confidence. The best leaders I've ever seen, they hire the smartest people around and then they listen to them. So I encourage you to show up wherever it is, whether it's in your house, where you volunteer, the grocery store, your place of work. Show up confidently within your body, but also be okay with asking questions. There's many more tips that I can give. I'm trying to put my contact information in the chat. I thank you for this time together with all these amazing women. And I do believe and know that inner confidence is within all of us. It takes practice, it takes work, and it takes doing exactly what you did tonight, showing up. So I'm so proud of all of you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being engaged. And thank you, Coach Nummy, for this awesome time that we had together.
Oh gosh, Melissa, I don't know how to follow that. And I was definitely checking my posture as you were speaking. I all of a sudden sat up and I was like putting my arms back. And yes, you're absolutely right. And thank you for busting those myths, because they are very common myths, and every single person can achieve confidence. And I agree. You have to be vulnerable and open to learning, as every single person did here today. So we do have some questions, and then we're going to do a full panel chat. So I definitely want to get to your questions, which is, oh my gosh, would you say that confidence is a reflection of self-esteem?
You know, I believe confidence, one of the biggest areas of confidence does go back to mindset. And with respect to our religion, I'm just going to quote the biblical text. Over 2,000 years ago, mindset was actually talked about in the Bible. So mindset has been something that goes all the way back to biblical times. So yes, it does go hand in hand with self-esteem, but you will see that as you raise your areas of confidence, you're going to raise your self-esteem. It's basically, they're basically married. So if you do see an area where you're weak in your self-esteem, I would measure why that is, and what are some just simple ways you can improve that. You don't have to go and, go skydiving because you have lack of self-esteem of being high in heights or something. That was a bad example, but yeah, they do very much mirror each other.
That's amazing. And a last question before we go to the group panel is, how do you help a friend who has low self-confidence? Where do you start with that?
Well, I think it depends on obviously your relationship. And, but I did this morning for a friend and a colleague. I put on the coach hat and I just spoke some truth into this person's life, and I held up a mirror, a mirror of what I saw versus what I was hearing from them. And what I was hearing from them is that, I'll give you an example. They were invited by a friend last weekend to attend a party, but it was a secondhand invitation, and she doubted herself. And so she didn't go because she's like, I wasn't really supposed to be there. And I reflected that to her, and I shared what I saw and who I saw and how she missed an opportunity to show up for herself. So I believe that when you have a trusting relationship and you speak into a person's life and held up a mirror, when it's a safe space, not like in the middle of the day when you just won't get up on stage with you, there is an opportunity to do that. But I would look for specific areas where you're seeing that lack of confidence show up. Maybe you know that they didn't advocate or speak up in a board meeting when they should have, or maybe you're seeing them in a really bad relationship. And those are the hardest conversations to have, by the way, but they're the most meaningful, the most powerful. And if you do love your friend, and if you know there's areas of growth, you can speak up. And I will tell you that happened to me in 2015. One of my mentors, the former ambassador to the African continent, he saw me. I was self-deprecating. I just had my baby, and I was making fat jokes about myself. I was doing it. It was at a VIP event. I wasn't feeling comfortable. I wasn't feeling confident. And what he did is he pulled me aside and he point blank said, Melissa, stop it. He said, stop it right now. You're enough. And I tell you what, we had a little bit more conversation, but I've never done it again. And if I ever do, I catch myself. So that's a very long answer to yes, please speak to your friend. Understand maybe how they need to hear it. Maybe they don't need to hear it as strongly as I did that day, but please speak up. Please help them.
And it's amazing to help your friend and colleague just by even asking that question. That shows that you are, willing to support each other, which is the whole point of this. So I'm going to start adding our panel members on, and if you can take yourselves off on video, put yourselves on video, please do. I don't know if I have to ask you to though, so let me go ahead and do that. Okay. There we go. There we go. I have to do this one by one. Thank you for everyone. Okay, now you have a full panel in front of you. So please feel free to drop a few questions in the chat and we will answer them as best as we can. Okay. All right, here we go. And thank you so much, panelists. That was amazing. Oh, and we made it on time. We are really powerful women who are very respectful of time. That's amazing.
This is so great. I have my notebook full of notes and tips, and
And also feel free to ask each other questions because this is the time. All right. So how would we help a child or student who is an introvert to gain more confidence? Is it similar, Melissa?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that some of this sounds redundant, but I do a couple of things with my daughter. And I would say my daughter is probably in the middle. One is to first understand where they are coming from and understand what that being an introvert looks like for them. I do affirmations. I have my daughter do affirmations when she's open to it. I don't make her. And I also do declarations. And so those are the first couple of things that I do every morning, or I try to before she goes to school. The other thing that I do is I mirror what confidence looks like in a situation and I name it. So let's say your little boy or little girl is on a playground. And what you could do is if there's another parent, you can actually name, I'm feeling so shy right now today, Davy, but you know what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to go introduce myself to that mommy over there because she looks really friendly. And you don't have to tell your child to do that at all. You can just do it and mirror the behavior that you want to encourage them to have. And eventually you can maybe then start having conversations. It starts out slower. It starts out a little bit softer, obviously with children as they're developing, because you don't want to, you're not going to make an introverted kid become a stage kid, but you can absolutely start mirroring both in action and in conversation. You can also start giving any type of positive reinforcement when you think they've made a stride, and of course no negativity when they don't. But if you do see them play with somebody on the playground, I'm just using that as an example, or a little kid comes up to them, encourage, say, wow, that was really brave of Sam to come up to you, Davy, and I'm proud of you for saying hello back or whatever. But you can absolutely work with you can do that, but please feel free to reach out to me. I've got more tips, and we could even do a free session. I'd be happy, because I think that's a great question, and I think kids are getting a lot of crappy messages about confidence these days.
Thank you. Melissa, while we're taking the next questions, why don't you drop your info into
I'm
the chat?
trying to. It
Isn't
won't
that
let me.
working? Okay, any more questions? Anyone have a question for each other? I'm going up to Toral. You had lots of unanswered questions, so I'm going back into those. I know one of them was, what was an example of a peptide?
Yeah, so peptides are kind of like a generic term almost, but think of them like proteins that can help your skin. And so actually, when you are looking at skincare ingredients, usually luckily that's probably one of the ingredients that is a little bit clearer. Usually if a product does contain a peptide, it takes actually a lot of science to formulate it correctly. So a lot of companies actually really highlight that there are peptides in their product. And so you don't really have to hyper analyze the label to figure out whether or not a product has peptides in it, generally, because I think they're usually highlighted in the ingredient. And so essentially you can have copper peptides, you can have different like amino acids that are formulated to peptides. But I think that that's a longer conversation, but in general, usually you don't have to seek it out. It'll probably be highlighted in the product. And I think the best way to incorporate a peptide is probably a serum or an eye cream, actually. So to not get too technical, I think that's probably where the best bang is for your buck if you're looking into incorporating peptide.
Great, thank you. I did not know that either. That was very helpful. Okay, so I think that might be all the questions, and we have like 2 minutes left. I would love if every single person here, I'm totally going to put you on the spot, but I think you can do this. If you had to leave everyone with like one statement or one sentence, what would it be? Anything at all, just something that they can like take away. I'll start with you, Odette.
Well, I think the common theme here for all of us has been, well, starting with my topic is relationships. So I'll start with the most important relationship is the relationship with yourself. I think in different ways, we've all kind of said that. So just remembering to prioritize yourself.
I'll piggyback on that. Honestly, it really is just focusing on how to give yourself a little bit more time and give yourself grace. Not everything's going to be easy, and not everything's going to happen the way you want it to. So allow yourself that room for mistake.
Okay, Melissa.
So I'm going to go in a slightly different direction. I'm going to say, be another woman's champion. And that's a little bit different than a mentorship, but I also believe in that. But if you can champion another girl, another woman, and that means doing something or some things for them just because you want to see them succeed, I think that is amazing. I personally have had champions in my life, and I have tried to champion other people. Maybe that's helping them prep for an interview. Maybe that's sending them a job. Maybe that's sending them an encouraging note. Maybe that's pumping them up on LinkedIn or Instagram, or they're just highlighting their business for no other reason because you're excited about them. I encourage all of us to be another woman's champion, not just one, but as many women as we can when the time allows.
Amazing. I have to say something. I just saw a little meme the other day that said, or it wasn't a meme, it was a quote. It said, find supporters, find friends, surround yourself with people who will say your name in a room full of opportunity. So it sounds similarly to that. Toral, how about you?
Probably for me, would be even when you don't feel like it, or you're overwhelmed and you're stressed out and you don't feel like taking care of your skin, it's really when it needs it the most.
Talia?
Well, I would want to actually close with a question, right? And statement is, knowing yourself is an action. So I would love to see everyone's small step that they can do today, like this week, and from all the knowledge that they got today. There was a lot of amazing presentations and a lot of information. So that it doesn't go away, right? Like, and somewhere like in our memories, I want like to make everyone at least one actionable step.
Great, thank you. And Nancy?
I would encourage everyone to take regular pauses throughout your day and just put your hand on your heart, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what do I need in this moment? And then give that to yourself without guilt.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Mine is have the bravery to take the journey into yourself. And that's what we did today. And so thank you so much, everyone. It was a wonderful presentation. Thank you, panelists, for your time. It really was truly special to hear from all of you and learn and grow during this session. What I'm going to do is actually put up all your contact info. So here you go. These are your panelists. If you didn't grab it before, jot it down now. Maybe open up your phones, go follow. This is their Instagram handles. I think from there you can probably get the rest of it. And thank you so much. And then with that, in about 30 seconds, we'll close the webinar.